Maybe some parents want to make sure their kid learns well, so they want them to do the exam. Or it might be because of your high school arts educational unit. I'm going to put the link down below in the description section so you can check that out. It's the same for other instruments as well. So let's say for piano, if you do the level 6 practical exam and the level 6 theory exam, you're going to receive the arts educational credit for your grade 10 at your high school. Make sure you have to do the level 6 theory as they mentioned in the link down below. You cannot use a higher level 8 to substitute for that level 6 if you want to get the arts educational credit. And in the link below you can see if you do the practical 7 exam, piano or other instrument, let's say trumpet, and the level 7 theory exam, you can receive the arts educational credit in grade 11 for your high school. And then for the grade 8 theory and the practical level 8 piano or trumpet, you will receive the grade 12 arts educational credit at your high school. So here is the website from the Rcm that shows about the high school credits. Piano or trumpet, you will receive the grade 12 arts educational credit at your high school. So here is the website from the Rcm that shows about the high school credits. And this is the website from the government. I'll put down the link in the description below. And I mentioned about the level 6 of the practical exam 7 and 8 already. And I want to show you about this. If you have your practical level 9 and level 10, they are same as the level 8 practical that you are going to receive the grade 12 arts educational credits. If you are not sure about how does the program work, you can always consult with your school's counselor. So here's another example. Let's say I don't want my arts educational credit at high school because I will do the fine arts at my high school. And I'm going to do my piano practical 6, level 6, and then piano practical level 8. And I want to save time and save the exam fees. Can I just go directly to the level 8 theory and I still receive my level 6 practical piano exam certificate and my practical level 8 piano certificate? Yes. If you just want to receiving the certificate, practical one, you can use a higher level 8 theory to substitute for the previously required level 5, level 6, and level 7 theory. But once again, if you want to get your arts educational credit at your high school, you will need the corresponding theory level in order to get that educational credit units. And for level 9, so starting from the level 8 and so on, the theory is not allowed to skip anymore. So basically, at least, you need to have grade 8 theory, and then 2 level 9 theory, harmony and history, 2 level 10, which is the harmony and history. If you plan to go to ARCT, there are 3 levels. Oh, those books are so heavy. Okay, so there are 3. Once again, harmony, history, and analysis. So I really suggest that you will plan ahead about when do you want to do the theory exam if you're planning to go to the grade 10 and ARCT, because they're really time consuming. The prep level to the level 8, they are the same category about drawing the scales, key signatures, rhythms. They are quite easy. That's why across Canada the average in RCM, I think it's around 80 something, and usually my students are at like 90s. You can get 100 too. That's simple. So basically I teach all the theories online as well, so if you're interested, you can email me, which I will post in the description down below. If you're interested in Rcm piano related videos, piano sheet music videos, piano tutorials, please like, share and subscribe my channel. See you in the next one. Sephora.
Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Piano TV. We are going to talk about
Here's the newest update on October 15th, 2020. For the Rcm Level 5 to 8 Theory, there are 3 offerings right now. The first one is Online Theory Study Guide with exam. The second one is online exam only. The third one is the traditional one that you register and go to the exam center. But because of the COVID-19, the winter section 2020, they switched to the online exam. So let's take a look what's the difference between the first one and the second one. For the first one with the study guide, there will be 8 units with audio examples, guided analysis, step-by-step procedures and practice tests. For the online exam with test guide, once you register and pay for that, Rcm will email you within 24 hours to let you know that the form is ready for you. You will go to the link that they provided and set the password. For each unit, you go over the study guide, then you can try to do the practice test as many times as you want. Once you're ready, you can do the test, which is worth 5% in each of the 8 units. All 8 unit tests add up to be 40% of your final mark. Once you completed all the tests in 8 units, you can try to practice final exam as many times as you want. Lastly, you can do the final exam, which is worth 60% of your final mark. Unit tests can be completed separately at your desired pace within 1 year. Please note that your previous exam credit cannot be applied to this purchase. All levels are $175 each. It would be the same price from level 5 to level 8. For the second option, the stand-alone exam only, there is no unit test, no practice test. But there is some practice exam questions to let you try on so that you have an idea about how the exam questions will be. It will be available for purchase on December the 1st, 2020. And you will have 30 days to complete that. Existing exam credit can be applied for it. Students who would like to use their exam credit for the winter session in 2020, you must register by November the 3rd, 2020 through the exam registration app in your My Rcm account. The price vary in each level as shown on the screen. You can find the Rcm link in the description section below if you need more information. Please note that the unit melody writing is different in the written exam and the online exam. For the written one, you compose it because you write the notes, you draw the notes. For the online one, they have several choices for you to drag and drop the box into the measure. For all other units, they're pretty much the same between the written exam and the online one. Good luck to your exam. If you're interested in Rcm piano related videos, piano sheet music videos,
Осенью, когда растет число заболевших, очень важно соблюдать личную гигиену. Поэтому советую купить вот такие салфетки. Они убивают 99% бактерий. И, конечно же, очень важно выбирать правильное мыло для рук. Я взял с натуральным составом. Самокат доставился за 12.
Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Piano TV. I am Alicia, your host, and today I wanted to talk to you about how to ace your RCM history exams. This video is going to be very specific to the RCM. I think some of these tips will still apply if you're studying for history like at university or another school. So, I want to start this off by saying I am not a piano whiz. I've always had to work pretty hard at the piano to be reasonably good. So you know how there's people who are just born with, they seem to be born with something anyway. The guitarist in my band was like this. It was like he didn't have to, he had to try like half as hard to be twice as good. And that's never been me at the piano. Now the benefit of that is that it's always helped me as a teacher because it's helped me relate to my students a little bit more. Instead of just sailing through things, I'm able to relate to some of the struggles. But there is an exception to this. The exception is history exams, which I have excelled at. So I thought that I would be in a good position to share my advice and stuff on history exams. So let's get started. So
Bloomberg Exam Prep CFA. Get an unfair advantage.
The marks that I received. So for the first history exam, I received a 93, which I thought was like, that was a pretty great mark. Obviously, I was pretty good at the I got a 95 really. You're learning all of the intimate details of my piano practice history. But anyway, yeah, so 93 was good, but I knew I could do better, so when I did my history exam, I got a 97, and I'm very proud of that. Because they even wrote something on the sheet. I don't remember what it was, but it was something like "good job," and I'd never seen them write anything like that on an exam of mine before. So I was very pleased. The most important thing you need to do is just look at the Rcm Theory Syllabus, and you can find it for free and download it. It's not going to tell you like all of the details that you need to learn, but it gives you the main points. You basically want to consider the syllabus the structure of your overall learning. It's like the skeleton. You'll need to understand everything listed here on the syllabus in quite a little bit of detail. So for example, not only do I need to understand the composition, Sefud and Mai, but I need to know like the intimate details of it. The musical structure, the Pietin, well, it wouldn't be relevant in the Middle Ages music, but it would be relevant in like Baroque music and onward. Basically, I need to know the musical features of it without referencing the music, and that's the kicker. You're not going to have sheet music that is in front of you where you can talk about composition. You need to know specific composers as well, and not just like a general thing, but like very specific details. So, for example, if I'm studying Bach, I not only need to be able to provide information about Bach, but I should be able to write like a 3 to 5 paragraph essay on Bach without references. And this includes knowing the dates of key moments in his life, not just birth and death, key compositions, major things that happened to him, both in a general sense and in a music sense. These, hopefully you're getting a sense of how rigorous these history exams are. So, in order to do well with these, you need not only excellent memorization skills, but you also need excellent organizational skills. And I can help you throughout this video with the organizational aspect of things, but I'm not going to be able to help you so much with the memorization. I'll have a few tips, but you kind of have to know that's beyond the scope of this video. So once you have the skeleton of your studies mapped out from the syllabus, it's time to get your hands on the workbook. Now the workbook I use is called Music History 2, Middle Ages to Classical. Explorations, it's the Exploration series. This might be an older series, and I know it's not the only option, but it is specific to the Royal Conservatory. It has like their stamp of approval, and the reason I would pick a workbook like that is because if you're studying for an RCM exam, you're going to be sure that the information is specifically to the exam that you're taking. So the thing I like about this is the fact that it is a workbook. So you're writing things down and you study through it. it'll usually take me a few months. Like I don't just fly through it and then try to memorize it later. I really try to dig into it as I'm going. And I don't memorize things like dates and like the more minute details on my first pass through the workbook. Those kind of details will come later. On the first pass, I'm mainly just focused on getting like a general understanding of the main composers and what they accomplished, and just getting an overall sense, learning some terminology and applying it in analysis and stuff like that. So yeah, I spend quite a bit of time with the workbook before doing more detail-oriented stuff. So once I finish that, that's when I start the binder, which is just down here. My binder is kind of falling apart right now, apparently. What I like to do on the front page of the binder is have the syllabus printout right at the very front, just so it's there as a reference. And then I'll usually divide things into sections, so like Renaissance, Baroque, etc. So yeah, let's take a look at my binder. I'll make a master list of composer dates and a separate list for composition dates. These are dates that I need to have memorized for the exam, so it's useful to have them all on one sheet of paper. It's basically something I can refer to for months, and even like the last days before the exam I'll refer to this. Each composer has their own page. They have like a jot note fact sheet. And I try to condense all of the information about that composer onto one page. And I try not to make it overwhelming, because by this point, I've already researched the composer in depth. So I don't need in-depth notes, I already know those details. This is just more about having like the key information points, like important dates and stuff, and just having it there as like a general reference. So as with the other sheet I was just talking about, everything on this page has to be memorized for the exam. And this is just an easy way for my brain to do that. And then every key composition also has its own page. So I have composer pages and composition pages. So I take everything I've learned about that composition, consider everything that has to be memorized, and then I put it on a single sheet. And as with the composer sheets, I memorize all the content on this page. It's just like the bare minimum. I've already studied this composition quite a bit before putting it on here. In addition to memorizing composers and works, you also need to memorize information about genres. So for example, you need to know sonata works. So, and again with the sonata, for example, you need to know its like the history of the sonata, the background, but you also need to know the key characteristics of the genre. So even after the binder, you're not done yet. And I'm sad that I couldn't find these for you, but they've just disappeared in various house declutters. They're probably sitting in my basement somewhere with like a bunch of random teaching things. Flashcards. I love flashcards, and flashcards are perfect for when you're memorizing terminology. So when you're trying to figure out what like a sacred motet is and stuff like that, I would basically put all of the terms that I have to memorize on flashcards, and then again you can kind of use them with yourself, or you can use them with other people. And the thing that I like about flashcards too is you can fit them in like random 5-minute
Я тоже так
increments.
думаю. Нет, я сейчас себя не защищаю, я вообще в целом. Оно должно меня это не касается, я все равно останусь мужской особью, не женской, понимаешь? Это будут проблемы все равно ваши. Я тебе еще раз объясняю, что женщина, которая активна, это не женщина уже, это ненормальное, что-то нездоровое, понимаешь? Да, женщина, которая целеполагание, которая что-то хочет, которая хочет выжить. Понимаешь? Вот она такая, за жизнь борется, надо не выживать. У них, понимаешь, у них душа, у них доброта, они святые. Они, как вот Иисус, самоисцеляющийся, по идее. Я уж так уж специально говорю просто, что им злиться просто не надо, тогда у них не будет ни рака, ни шмяка. То есть, то есть им не надо быть мымрами, им не надо иметь характера, ни целей, ни денег в руках держать даже вообще. Им не надо быть моей матерью. Понимаешь? И с моей матерью в том числе, да, и так далее. Я просто тебе объясняю, меня это не касается, понимаешь? Я тебе просто объясняю, что, то есть не сдавайся, а сейчас, да, и поэтому мымры стада, мымр, легион мымр, сейчас такие, и пошли на курсы обучения, самообучения, и такое было всегда во все времена, и это не значит ничего хорошего. И они еще будут, по каким-то параметрам не будут успешнее тебя, и даже еще президентши, наверное, вылезут, меня это не касается. Да, то есть и у них будет и успех, и деньги, и бла-бла-бла. Но они женщины, понимаешь? Ну, то есть меня не касается, да, то есть я ничего тебе не навязываю. То есть у них есть, потому что черты характера, которые нужны для бизнеса, понимаешь? У них, у них есть черты характера, которые нужны для денег. У них есть черты, да, то есть у них, то есть, но они не имеют права жизнь свою жить как а-ля мужик. понимаешь, просто не имеют перед своим телом, уж простите меня, перед жизнью самой, да, потому что, да, вот видишь, какой нонсенс, видишь, как ты себя не это самое, да, так вот, понимает, поэтому, да, ну он тебя понял уже просто, я к чему говорю-то, поэтому надо, ну, как бы не сдаваться, но это, да, то есть, ну, что теперь сделать, понимаете, не сдаваться и работать надо, да. Да, меня это не касается. Я использую просто всех. Как и вы, в принципе, я тоже. Как и вы всех. Ну что значит использовал? Ты взял сейчас книгу, прочитал, ты ее использовал. И Пушкина ты использовал, и Чайковского ты использовал, и что дальше? Денег даже не заплатил, как это? Понимаю. И это хорошо, понимаешь? Но ты не Пушкина использовал, а его труды. А женщин мы прямо берем и используем. И всем им тоже, наверное, хорошо от этого, да. Ну, как бы, наверное, да, не знаю, что думаете сами, да. Да, и ты даже не смей говорить, да, да. Ну, да. Кстати, агрессия здесь вообще ни при чем. Да, понимаете. Ну, да. Да, ну это уже меня не волнует. Я просто что говорю-то? Да, да. Ну, они чем-то другим, значит, живут, да, ну, чем-то другим, не своим, значит, да, не своим, да. Душой они живут, потому что, блажение, что такое, ну, получается, ну и что теперь? Ну, значит, тело отдай людям, сама живи душой, типа, ну, наверное, так, да. Не знаю, что-нибудь там, это слышно, да, это согласен, ну, это некрасиво же, как-то, да. Ну, думай сам, короче. Да, да. Ну, не бывает, что за шиза такая, да, понимаешь? То есть получается, да, ну ничего нету разделенного. Если ты один, все, нет уже, никто не живет, некому жить уже, все. Все там, все успеем, как говорится. Да. А как это до момента смерти как дожить? Нормально, чтобы это, да, то есть как эту жизнь прожить, потому что суть это процесс только. Не то, чтобы, да. И так далее. Это просто, я тебе говорю, там изначально просто логический нонсенс. Неужели ты не понимаешь, что да? Ну да, да, просто, ну по себе говорю, да. Так вот, любимые, родные просто и все, да, да. И это хорошо, видимо, да, понимаю. Ну, наверное, да. Я не в этом, я просто говорю о том, что надо не сдаваться. Но это не про женщин, видимо. Но у них получится, но это не значит, что так надо было делать. И возможно, даже просто и легко получится, да. Потому что мужик, я такой, не сдаюсь, и сдулся такой, все, ничего не надо, понимаешь. Потому что что-то свое надо, да, понимаешь. А женщинам ничего не надо, они как бы не такие, да, понимаешь. Ну да, понимаешь. Поэтому мы, да, ну ничего не важно. Все равно тебе надо найти себя, как говорится, да. Да, ну неужели не так? Свою цель, то есть кто я такой, ради чего вообще трудиться, как трудиться и ради чего? Да, и что делать вообще, да. Говорить ради, да, понимаю, там тебя просто, да. Ну, а зачем, как это сдаваться? Вот время идет вперед, сегодня ты такой, я сдался, завтра столкнулся. Ну ладно, продолжаешь делать, да, понимаешь. Типа того, более стабильный стал, таких моментов стало меньше, понимаешь. Да, ну типа того, да. Ну, наверное, потихоньку, да. Эмоциональность это вот. Ну да.
So if Michael and I were just kind of like hanging
Нет,
out,
нормально,
be like, hey, let's just have like a little flashcard session, and then we can carry on about our lives afterwards. So being able to intersperse that in just daily life helps. It really helps me anyway, because if you spend 3 hours just studying and focusing, you remember things, like you might find that the next day a lot of details have kind of fallen out, but I find that if you study in really short pockets, especially when you're doing a lot of heavy memorizing, it just sticks better. Probably because you're getting out of the zone, and then you have to reapproach the things
у
you
меня здесь
memorized.
принтер, у меня здесь все шаговое. Зачем мне сейчас отсюда уезжать, если, ну, то есть, ну, если я могу сейчас повысить свой уровень конференц-листа, скажем так, конференц-листа своего повысить. То есть, как бы, сейчас вот, ну, годик, может, такой, и, да, ну, это уже от тебя зависит, как ты хочешь, да, понимаешь, да. Женщинам нельзя вообще, им ничего не надо делать, потому что делать это нельзя, это не женская тема. Многие раздвигают делать меня, чтобы я родился на свет, чтобы их также родили. Да, понимаю. Ну, значит, без любви, значит, без денег тоже, значит, прислуживать будешь людям, как нищенка, как монахиня. Надевайся в советский танк, непривлекательный, да, чтобы, понимаете, без любви. И без денег тоже. Да. Ну так уж просто. Вот я понял. Ну ладно, не надо. Нет, нет.
Totally different context. So you're not at your desk, you're not at a coffee shop or whatever, you're just like, I don't know, in your living room or at the grocery store or something. And that change of context and just being out of the zone, I think is a great way to test how strong your memory really is. Another aspect of studying for a music history exam is to listen to the music and study the scores. So what I would do is make a playlist on Spotify or YouTube or something like that, so that when you're just kind of like out and about, maybe you go for a walk, you can listen to the music. But I like to mix up just kind of casual listening where the music's on in the background, because I think that's important. But I like to mix that with active listening, where you have the score or the sheet music in front of you, so you're listening and following along the sheet music at the same time. I think both ways are really helpful, because when you're just listening to music in the background, that's a really good way to just kind of internalize it. But when you're actively studying it, that's when you become familiar with like random key changes and like all the little minute details that you need to memorize for these exams. They like you to get really granular with the music that you're studying. So one resource for free sheet music would be imslp.org, and a lot of open source, like music that doesn't have copyright anymore, can be found there. Okay, so at this point, you've gone through the workbook, you've memorized and learned everything on the syllabus, you've done your flashcards. So now, let's do it, exam time! But like, not yet. Hold your horses. There's one other incredibly key element that I think you need to do, and this was critical to my success, and I'm just going to show you these. I have following pages. I have exam workbooks. So these are like actual past exams from the RCM. Each of these books, I believe, has 4 exams in them. And so I have 3 books, that would be 12 exams. That is a lot of exams, because these take 3 hours each to do. So 3 times 4 is 12 times, so that'd be 36 hours, basically. This is 36 hours of work. That's a lot. So usually in like the last month or 2 leading up to the exam, what I'll do is I'll just like have everything memorized. I'll go through one practice test a couple days or so. I had these like long coffee shop sessions where I would just like sit down and be like, okay, I'm parking here. You're gonna hate me because I'm gonna be here for 3 hours. And then I would just focus and then afterwards, like maybe later in the day or the next day, I would go through everything and see how I did. Double check my answers, and I was lucky enough that I did have like a teacher friend who looked over my work too, just to kind of make sure I was not doing anything super crazy. One component of pretty much every practice exam is writing essays, and I practice those too, because you want to be able to, you never know, the reason that I have so many of these practice exam books is because every exam, they ask you similar questions in a totally different way. So in one essay, they might want you to write out like the plot details of an opera you studied. But then in the next exam, they might want you to write out the musical details and ignore the plot details. And it just gives you exposure to a wider range of questions to give you a sense of what kind of things they're going to be asking you. And you'll notice that some things start to repeat again and again. And just by doing this, is like, it's the best way to ensure that you're going to get a great mark on your exam. One thing I want to mention too is I did have a piano teacher that, like I said, look over things once or twice, but I didn't have a regular teacher while I was studying for my history exams. But I was okay with that because I'm a teacher and I'm really familiar with the Royal Conservatory and how they do things. I'm very confident in my ability to prepare for an exam like this on my own. Most people are not going to be in my shoes, so what I would recommend to you, you don't need to have a regular weekly teacher for studying for a history exam, but at the very least, book a few sessions, because, again, you might have some major blind spots in your study. The practice exams will help a lot, fill in the gaps of your blind spots, give you an idea of what's coming. But if you're consistently doing something wrong in the practice exams, there's no way for you to really know that unless you have a professional look it over. So I I would recommend a teacher for at least a few sessions leading up to a history exam. Most importantly, I encourage you to have fun with the process. I know that the idea of like studying and memorizing stuff isn't everyone's idea of a good time, but it is really cool information that you're learning. I mean, if you're interested in music, then you could probably find a way to make this interesting for yourself. I don't have any specific memorization tips because it's just something that I tend to be naturally good at. But a few of the things that I've talked about that I find really help are manually writing things down. So my binder of notes are notes that I've like manually written as opposed to typed out. I don't know the science on it, but I think there's something that gets triggered when you physically write something down. I think it adds another layer to your memorization process. So for example, one way I might practice this is like if I was studying, maybe I would spend 30 minutes memorizing everything about Haydn's life, like the dates, the key points, etc. But then instead of just like, okay, I'm done now, I would then try to write a short essay on his life and see if I could take the facts that I memorized and actually apply it. Because again, it changes the way you process information. So if you're just memorizing facts, it's easy to do that and then regurgitate those facts. But it's a little bit harder. It's one more step removed. If you're integrating those facts into like something more detailed, like a story, fleshing it out like that. So that's like one memorization thing I also think helps. And something about speaking things out loud or manually writing them is more powerful than just keeping everything in your brain. I think writing things down is the most powerful. Speaking things would be second most, and then just like, I don't know, memorizing things but not doing any manual external thing with it afterwards, like speaking or writing, is probably the least effective. I try to kind of utilize all three of these things, because if I'm sitting at a coffee shop memorizing, I'm not able to, well, I could talk to myself and look like a crazy person, but I don't. But I could write things down at a coffee shop, so I tend to integrate all these different types of learning. I do have very fond memories of that coffee shop, even though I studied for that exam almost a decade ago, and like, well, was it that long ago? I don't even remember. But when I drive by there or stop there, it's like, this is the place I spent an entire summer. I love taking exams and going through the whole exam process, because I feel like you push yourself harder when you're taking an exam than you would otherwise, and you stretch yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit too. There's something thrilling about sitting down where the clock's ticking to just...
Я все равно не
I don't
верю.
know. Exams are fun. They light me up. I should get back into the exam.
Да, ну он тебя понял
game
уже,
again.
да. Вот
That's
наоборот,
one of my
когда...
goals for the next couple years. But
Ну и
anyway,
что теперь?
hopefully you
Тебе
found
придется на свои... Ну да, то есть... Ну
this
понял тебя,
video
да,
helpful,
да.
whether or not you're actually taking Rcm history exams. Good luck with them.
Наоборот.
And yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'd love to have you.
Ну наоборот,
in
значит,
the
да.
next video.
Ну наоборот, значит,
Sure, I was not doing anything super crazy. The Royal Conservatory of Music, the RCM, which is the major independent school of music in Canada and the United States. So this is basically like the school where you go through your grades. So if you've ever heard someone say, I have my grade 6 in piano or whatever, then this is probably what they're talking about. Or they're talking about the ABRSM, but we'll get to that in a minute. So first off, let's talk some basic details about the Royal Conservatory of Music, which I will now refer to as the RCM because it's much less of a mouthful. Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Piano Tea.
Да. MT.
Here is the tonic chord. Here is the progression. Second time. Here is the tonic chord. Here is the progression. Second time. The melody is in F major and 3/4 time. Here is an F major tonic chord. 1, 2, 3. Second time. Here is the tonic chord. Here is the progression. Second time. Here is the tonic chord. Here is the progression. Second time. The melody is in D minor and 6/8 time. Here is a D minor tonic chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Second time.
Тут надо папку там.
Here is the tonic chord. Here is the progression. Second time. Here is the tonic chord. Here is the progression. Second time. The melody is in D major and 4/4 time. Here is a D major chord. 1, 2, 3, 4.
This Level 8 Music Theory course is being generously sponsored by Musicians English, the Calgary-based music organization which is helping to connect Korean music teachers with the RCM's curriculum. For more information about this program, you can check out the link in the description below. Now in level 8 we learned how to write contrasting periods, and we learned how to do it by figuring out the implied harmony. Not much has changed in level 8, however, level 8 is the first time the RCM will ask you to write melodies in minor keys. Now, you might think that's not quite a big deal, but there's something we need to discuss, you and me. Here in front of me, I've written out my own minor key melody, but I've left something very, very, very wrong with it. So I'm going to play it, and I want you to listen to this, and I want you to try and figure out what's missing. Now, if you like sea shanties and pirate ships, that sounds pretty good. But for stylistic reasons, it's wrong to put on your level 8 RCM exam. Your level 8 RCM exam is trying to train you to write tonal melodies. And we learn how to write tonal melodies because we need to learn how to control harmonic tension. So even though that sounds kind of cool, it's not right, and I wonder if you could figure out why. It was a minor scale, but it was kind of exclusively in the natural minor scale. When you write minor key melodies on your exam, you have to use the melodic minor scale, which means when the melody is going up, you have to raise the 6th and 7th. And when the melody is going down, you have to lower them. So because I've been teaching this for too long already, I've seen lots of students get low marks on this question on the level 8 exam only because even though they wrote a great melody, they didn't raise 6 and 7 when their melody was pointed upwards, and they didn't lower 6 and 7 when the melody was in the downwards trajectory. Here's my melody again. I'm going to play the first line. Let's look at that first bar 1, okay? There's an F natural there. That's wrong, because we're leaving that F in an upwards direction, so actually that should be F sharp. Listen to this. That sounds different. So here's with F natural, and here's with F sharp. The F sharp has an upwards trajectory. It pushes us into the tonic. I purposely put this silly E natural as the high point of this melody because it's wrong. What's happening after that E natural? The melody is headed down to A. Now because we're headed down, that E natural should actually be E flat. It should sound like this. So here's the first line with the F sharp in the correct place and with the E flat as the high point. That will make your examiner a lot happier. Let's look at the second line. The very first motive. Again, there's an F natural, and even though it's coming from a G in a downwards direction, we're leaving the F in an upwards direction. So it would be best if it was F sharp, the raised leading tone.
this bar 6 is actually okay. We have E flat and we have F natural. So that's the lowered 7th and that's the lowered 6th. But that's okay because this motive is heading down to D. Down, down, down. But this second last bar really is a mess. So now we have scale degree 6 and 7 headed up to D, but they've both been flattened, so they're facing the wrong direction. What does it sound like if it's E natural and F sharp? That sounds a lot better.